Hello and welcome to Kabbalah Explained Simply. I'm Leo. I'll be your instructor today. I'm very happy to be here. You should be seeing us on YouTube and on Facebook. If you're not seeing us for some reason, let us know and we'll try to fix it. If you're here, you're curious about spirituality, and I can't blame you. And we'll try to answer your questions as simply as possible. That's what we're trying to do here. But understand that Kabbalah is a vast science. It's a method that's been honed over thousands of years. It evolved alongside the evolution of the human ego, our desire. And so it's okay if you don't understand everything I'll be saying. For that, we have some amazing self-study courses that you can take for yourself and just see if this wisdom is for you. There's a great support team in the chat, and they're ready to take your calls or your questions in the chat, and they'll share links to where you can go and what to do next. If you've been here before, then you know what this is about, and we'll try to make this as as simple as possible, but I can't promise. We'll see. The one great thing is that at the end of this hour, if you still have more questions, you're invited to join us for a more intimate live Zoom session with 40, 50, 60 people, where you get to turn on your camera. We can see you. You can see me. You can ask questions. You can ask follow-up questions. You can go deeper, and you can really open up any topic around the wisdom of Kabbalah, your search for spirituality, for meaning, and so on and so forth. Obviously, this is just one point of view, one sliver of an angle from the wisdom, but it's going to be interesting. So let's jump in. Before I jump in, I'll just welcome everyone that I see. I have people here from the Netherlands. I have Carl from Pennsylvania, Sylvia from the Netherlands, as I said. My trusted co-pilot Ruth is here. Julie from Salt Lake, Utah. Patricia, hi Patricia. A staple here. Teddy, Joe from Iowa. We have Lord Cabal from Portugal. It's a nice rhyme there. Endless Moments from somewhere in time. Sonia from Oslo, from Norway. We have Debbie from, I'm not sure where, but she says shalom. We have Sean from the UK and more friends. So it's great. Kabbalah is indeed breaking every boundary. If you guys need more proof that this wisdom holds the key to the next level in our evolution, to big ideas like world peace, like the next degree in human consciousness, you're not wrong, because it does. It was designed specifically for that. And today we're actually going to take a slightly more of a lighter view on things, and we're going to work with an interesting concept today, because there's always been lists of principles, of rules for good life, right? 10 rules, 7 rules, 12 rules, 100 rules. There are books full of ideas, and it's going back thousands of years. If you want to count the 10 Commandments as one of those lists, right? But the thing is that if you go into a library or a bookstore today, and you go to the self-help section, or self-care as it's titled today, or anything close enough in that vicinity, you'll be faced with walls jam-packed with books with title. Every person who's ever had a moment of clarity can go and write a book, and more power to them. But what do you do with all those books? The problem is that most books were made with one simple intention: to sell more books. And even if the person maybe set out to try to share their experience, their knowledge, help others, ultimately most people do it because it's they find a good revenue stream, and why not? If I can help people, tell them what they want to hear, what they need to hear, share from my personal experience, why not? But there's a difference in what we're talking about, because Kabbalists are people who attained the highest goal in life above all the other material goals that we have in life, and from that ultimate goal, they're lowering a rope for us, or a ladder, okay, a rope ladder. Every rung is carefully laid out for us. I'm not saying every rung is a principle. There aren't that many principles, but there are a lot of principles, and they're designed to help a person rise from the level of this world. And these are time-tested principles. These are not something that someone came up with. It's generation after generation, teacher to student, group to group. These ideas were refined, were honed, evolved, as I mentioned, alongside our own desires and our own questions and our mind's ability to process reality. So that's what Kabbalah does. That's what Kabbalists did. And what we want to do today is see what is, let's see what is trending today, what principles for successful life are trending today, and let's see what did the internet get right and what did the internet get wrong, and what can be improved, and we'll offer our improvement, and hopefully it will help you or someone in life. So let's go. 7 principles of a successful life challenged by Kabbalah. I didn't want to say outright debunked, because some principles are close. I'm not trying to say here that everything people say or do is completely wrong. Absolutely not. Everything is in fact necessary and is in its own unique way contributing to the general development of the human species. But if we want to be honest with ourselves, we have to first ask, what is a successful life? Is it money, family, honor, power, maybe just lots of great food, lots of great sex, all the books in the world, whatever it is, right? To each his own. But maybe the definition of a successful life is a life where you actually answer the big questions in life, right? Like, where do we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? How do we get there? What control do I have in life over what, where, in what way? What can I change? What can I not change? What is the meaning of all of it? Who made all of this? Right? All these are some of the big questions that everybody has at some point in life, and so maybe. Successful life is a life where you're actually able to rise above the treadmill that sends us chasing after new fleeting pleasures every day. Maybe a life where you can connect to the source from where everything started. Maybe that's a successful life, a life where you actually get to answer those questions, and it doesn't really matter what happens materially with your life, whether you're able to take one vacation a year or 6, have 4 cars and you're parked outside, or you take public transportation, whether you're married 4 times or 0 times, whether you have the respect of people around you or not. Maybe these questions are separate from what actually defines a successful life, a spiritual life. And obviously, if you're here, you're probably interested in the latter, in a spiritual life. I'm not saying you have to give up your regular life or suffer through life. That's not the point. The purpose of creation, you'd be happy to know, is to delight the created beings. That's why this whole thing was set up. The Creator, according to Kabbalists, who attained not the Creator himself, but the thought of creation, the first emanation from the Creator, that's the highest you can get to, they wrote back to us. They didn't just disappear. They attained it here and now, and while alive in this body. And so they left notes, they wrote books, and they left their own lists of how to live a successful life, a spiritual life. And so, we will go through these 7 principles and challenge them. If you have other principles, by the way, and we have time for it, I'd love to hear them and see if we can challenge those. If we need to, maybe they're great. Maybe they already fit in with, and everything. All you need to do is just clean up everything that is not conducive to your spiritual search. That's also a possibility, because we are surrounded by a ton of noise. So let's see how we can improve on those 7 principles, and which can we stick to, and more importantly apply to our lives starting tomorrow. Okay, so this is what we'll be trying to do. So without further ado, where is that? Okay, great. So first, principle number 1. We are slaves to our habits. Change your habits and your life will change. Obviously, this is, I'm saying in advance, these are all, paraphrases of, you may find those written in different ways. That's okay. But the idea is clear. This principle says that, you need to commit to personal growth by developing positive habits. Sounds logical. Like seeking knowledge, like being open to learning, like attending conferences, reading, networking, seeking feedback. In short, adding positive, changing your habits to have, to other habits, acquiring other habits that will open you up to the world. The truth is, sorry to break everyone's bubble, is there are no good habits. Let that sink in for a second. Take a sip of water. There are no good habits. I mean, there are good habits on the animal level. So, for example, if you condition yourself as a child to brush your teeth in the morning and in the evening, that's a good habit, and it will help you maintain the well-being of this animal, right? That's part of you. But as far as spirituality is concerned, habits by nature cannot be good. They're always bad. Why? Because habits are shortcuts that you developed to get more quickly away from pain and closer to pleasure. Which pleasure? Egoistic pleasure, because we're egoists. If you're new to Kabbalah, this is one of the central tenets. We are egoistic creatures. This isn't, it's not anyone's fault. That's how everything was set up. We are a desire to receive pleasure, and we receive it. We want to receive it. We want to seek this pleasure, escaping any potential pain or unnecessary payment in the process, and get to that pleasure as quickly as possible. And if it means along the way I have to get to it at the expense of someone or something, I might just do it. Smaller egoists will try to avoid it, or will do just a little bit of that. Bigger egoists will step on everyone. Really big egoists will, we are ready to get rid of half the world in order to fulfill their personal pleasures, and give themselves all kind of excuses along the way. But the fact of the matter is that there are no good habits. They're all constructs of our will to receive, our egoistic desire to receive more pleasure at minimum pain, usually the expense of others, and that's why we set up those habits, right? Things that I need to do, things that I can do, that I can automate, so to speak, in my operating system, so I don't have to work that hard, and I can maybe even multitask while I do it, right? I can get on a treadmill and I can watch something on the screen, or dictate emails or something else, right? So I developed a good habit where I start my day 3 times a week going to the gym, because it's good. Now again, it's good to go to the gym, but I'm just saying it's just one example of a habit that we've added, because it will make me look good. I can pursue my goals for having more, finding a mate, or impressing my friends, or other gains, potential gains, right? And we have all kinds of habits. Everything, you all know what your habits are. But if you really want to get down to it, habit in spirituality is death, because habit eventually locks you into a pattern of action, and you want to be really, really careful when you approach your spiritual search with that view. It's like walking into a new land. If you're going to operate on habit rather than on what's happening before you right now, you're going to find yourself very quickly in some quicksand or devoured by some big animal. So what do? We have to study our habits. I must study my habits, understand where they came from, what originated those habits, and which, if at all, can I change. So what I would say, and again, this is just principles, right? So it's overview, so I apologize in advance. But what I would say, a good alternative, a new way of looking at this principle is acquire one spiritual habit. Enjoy working against resistance. Why? Because I want to advance in spirituality. It means if I want to do it, it means advancing against my will to receive. That would mean working against resistance. And guess what? You're already doing it when you're working at the gym, for example, when you add resistance to your muscles. You don't go to the gym and lift the lowest weights. You lift the highest you can get to, right? You try to push yourself beyond what's comfortable in order to create that, that muscle mass that you're after. And the same goes with spirituality, except what you're trying to do is slightly different. You're trying to break, instead of breaking muscle tissue, you're breaking your will to receive. You're breaking your old habits. You're going against what you are comfortable with, and you're trying to align yourself with the plan of creation, which in our case has to do with connection with others. All those other people around us, those are broken pieces of our soul. You learn about this in one of the very first classes when you take the self-study. But the work begins when I start to come out of myself and start to relate to others, relating to others as more important even than me. Again, mind-blowing concept for some, but an inevitable reality for all of us, because it's the world we're moving towards. So if you want to know why this is, take the class. But the point is, if you need a spiritual goal and you need a group of people to work with where that goal can be implemented, and there, if you add this one habit where I enjoy working against resistance, that's the one thing that's guaranteed to help you. Beyond that, you'll need to be on your feet and you need to change because things change. Which brings us to principle number 2. The main obstacles in life that this principle says, and by the way, let me check there should be a question sheet somewhere here. Hold on. Okay, no questions yet. Feel free to send in questions, by the way. I'll try to move a little faster so we get all the principles and time for questions. So, principle number 2, the main obstacles in life are self-doubt and fear. Our doubts paralyze us. Right? How many times we've heard that? Don't let your fear paralyze you, or your doubt will paralyze you, and your fear will push you into make you crawl into a small hole. The truth is that doubts and fears are should be some of our great friends, because they drive us forward, right? And these are very good qualities that nature provided us with. Without fear, without doubt, I would be stuck like a vegetable where I am. If I didn't doubt that what I have here is not the best or the end all be all, I would never aspire to reach something better, right? If I wouldn't be afraid that the current conditions are not good, they will not provide what I need to survive, and now I'm talking on the animal level, right? Then I will never take a scary step in the right direction. A good example is the movie Crudes, by the way. It's not a Kabbalistic movie, but it is a great example of, right, her father the caveman family, where the father is motivated by fear and doubt, but in this case it's fear of everything, right? And always run back to the cave. And his daughter are motivated by doubt. Is this a life that we're given? Isn't there something beyond, outside the cave? And that's exactly how humans, how we evolved, right? Coming down from the trees, going out into the savannah, standing up, hunting, actively pursuing what we want, trying to get, again, more pleasure for less pain. That was always the algorithm, and fear and doubt were actually the qualities that help us move and avoid entrenching ourselves into a situation where we're just trying to minimize the feeling of negativity or evil and barely experience any good, just to avoid triggering any doubt and fear, right? I will not get into the relationship because then I won't get hurt, right? So you avoid things in the hope of avoiding a greater fear, a greater calamity. So what we're saying is, let fears and doubt rise. Let them push you. Let them push you forward. And in fact, if I'm in the right environment, and then all my doubts, all my fears will be directed correctly in my interactions with that environment. And together we move forward, me and the environment. So the principle that I propose to you is the new principle is embrace doubt and fear as great motivators to advance. In other words, doubt the right things and fear the outcomes of inaction. And remember, again, that nothing in nature, and this is a Kabbalistic principle, this is actually a side principle, that nothing, right, is in nature is created in vain. Under no circumstances should we diminish, suppress, or erase anything. All those different feelings, instead of trying to bottling those down and suppress them or move away from there, feel them. Ask, why am I feeling them? Right? What am I afraid of? What am I doubting? And use it. In spirituality, we use everything nature gave us. And we go into number 3. I see some action in the chat. That's great. More friends from DC, from California. Great. Netherlands, more amazing. Okay, let's move. Let's plow forward. So, principle number 3. Goals should be clear, simple, and written down. How many times have we heard that? I heard it many times. And the principle basically says that you need to identify what success means to you personally. This is a good part of this principle. Create specific, measurable goals across different life areas, including career, relationship, health, and personal development. That's where things get a little complicated, because in parentheses, I will say that so much of life is outside of our control. And by setting so many goals in so many areas, we might end up pursuing these goals to no end, because that has to do with a vast topic that has to do with free will. What is actually what's within our capacity to change. So we're not going to go into it. I'm just going to say that the truth is that when you develop spiritually, forget materially. Yes, you need to have certain goals. I go to the gym, I want to lose weight, I want to do this, I want that. That's fine. But spiritually speaking, there is the ultimate goal, the highest goal. But that's the goal of, right, the meaning of life, of actually the goal that was set by the Creator, not by you. The Creator already set a goal, and that was to reveal himself to his created beings. Right? That was the purpose of creation, to reveal the Creator to the created beings here in this world, while alive in this world. That's the goal. Everything stems from that thought, from that original goal. So there's no point in setting, I have a different spiritual goal. No, that is the goal. It's already been set for you. You can choose to accept it and work accordingly, or go against it. That's up to you. But if you accept this goal, then the next thing to understand is that when you're truly developing, not becoming a bigger egoist, then clarity is not something to hold on to. There is constant turmoil and change, and you're constantly scrutinizing and clarifying and trying to figure out where you are, and you're acquiring new, it's almost like acquiring new software, like you're going through installation after installation of more upgraded operating system, right? What happens in that moment, right? That fateful moment where your phone is out of it, right? Because installation is happening, you have no access, no contacts, no songs, no videos, no internet, no connection to other people, like, right? It's, you're in limbo. It's kind of like that when you advance spiritually. So as soon as you exhaust a certain level, a certain operating system, you get in through the process of installing a new one, and that's where all hell breaks loose. Everything breaks down. You think you're going crazy. You don't remember. You don't know things. That's a normal side effect, or maybe it's a central effect actually of this process. It shows you're advancing, and a true human being, again, not an animal that seeks constant pleasure wherever it is. A true human being is constantly in a state of this turmoil and clarification, of scrutiny, right? Greater desires, greater doubts, and then thoughts that arise in them. And so it's okay to understand that there's a big goal, but don't get locked in with all kinds of man-made goals, right? Rather, what I would propose is, in the search for meaning, goals should change as you change. Okay? What do we mean? Keep your eyes on the prize, as they say, right? Prepare for lots of changes. And it's good to have your, life's necessities. We're not talking about that, right? You need a job and a place to live, and you're married, you have to take care of your kids. That's all good. But beyond that, those are not goals. Those are sort of essentials, okay? Those are conditions that allow you to now pursue your spiritual goal. And the problem is we often confuse the two. We think, I will have all these goals, and then I'll get to maybe there's going to be a bigger goal or a better goal or a higher goal. No, this is simply background noise, distraction, conditions for the game, and within those conditions, you need to keep the goal, the goal in sight, and start advancing, knowing that you'll have to keep changing your action and your goals and your little milestones along the way, on the way to the top. Because advancement in spirituality is not a direct line. It goes in ups and downs. If you come to one of our retreats, you'll see we usually have a lesson on that, and we usually draw this, right, sinusoid type of curve. Like you go up, you go down. When you go down, you actually develop, you grow your vessels, but you lose your understand your connection with the source. You become smarter, but in fact you're losing your spiritual acquisitions, because you're not ready for a new degree, a higher degree. So all this turmoil is great, and if you remember, the Kabbalists advance in ups and downs, and in fact the great Kabbalists always find themselves at the lowest point right before reaching the complete correction. So if you remember that, and you remember that what would lift you is actually the group that's around you and the upper light that one receives through it, that actually makes things more simple. What is my goal now? Connect to the group. Where's the group? How do I connect to it? How do we work together to acquire the light? Right? It's more tactical milestones, lampposts that are breadcrumbs along the way, rather than big goals that just take you on long distracting routes. We have some questions. We're sort of halfway, so let's take questions. Why not? Verena, thinking of choosing the right environment for spirituality, which are the criteria for choosing or leaving an environment, and to distinguish whether obstacles will help to grow or harm growth? It's a good question. I want to say that there's probably a Kabbalah Explained Simply on that, but I'll just say there's a saying in Kabbalah: a person studies where his heart or her heart desires. So first of all, listen to your heart. That's the number one thing. Don't go with what excites me now, or what looks cool, or where do I stand to gain something materially, right? No, I have a spiritual goal. I want to find the meaning, the purpose of life. I want to make contact with this force called the Creator that everyone is talking about. I want that. Find a group, an environment that also wants that, like-minded people as we call them. That's a good sign. First thing. The second thing is there's a teacher. Without a teacher, it's simply a confused group. They may have an idea of where they're going, but without a teacher, even a great group can lose its way, and we see that. You need someone who's at least, a few steps ahead of you on the path. That's something I had to learn, the hard way. It took me 15 years before I said, okay, all right, I need a teacher. You don't have to wait so long. You just find a place where this is my teacher, and I trusted this person. I feel something. It makes me feel a certain way. So that's the second thing. And the last thing is books. In Kabbalah, we stress the importance of books, a written method that evolves and provides sort of a connection, that rope ladder, that rope that I mentioned earlier, between the state of the Kabbalist, who is in attainment, and my state, right here, all the way on the bottom. And that the books are this rope that they lower down to us, and we can hold on to. So in case I don't have access to the teacher, I can go to the books. If the group, is not certain, we start every activity with the books, with the text, the source. That's why here we always start with source material. We always end with source material. We go back to that. It's everything. So group, books, and teacher are the three pillars in which every spiritual seeker must base their search on. So that would be, it's like, it's a tip of the iceberg, but it should get you started. And eventually you sometimes have to take the leap, like the previous principle. If there's a doubt, scrutinize it. Victor, can you say that slaved habits can become an addiction? In order to heal from addiction, you often have to fall deep before raising, that you have to change. Yes, in some cases, either through conditions that were set from birth and during early years, the formative years, where the sort of the hardware is being shaped, right? Either through that or through some sort of a chemical imbalance. People do have habits that are more than habits. There are, as you say, addictions. Now, not every addiction is completely debilitating. I know we have people who study Kabbalah who have various addictions. They don't all have to be life-threatening or totally debilitating, and take up a person's entire life-saving and destroy his family. There are also small addictions that people have, and people work with those things, work around them. If something is so intense to the point that it prevents you from engaging in life, you may want to take care of it. And so that's always the advice we give to people. You have to be able to at least play the game, so to speak, right? Even on a spiritual search, it's not going to resolve immediately the issues you have that you're facing with respect to your animal, because usually it has to do with the connection between the sort of the animal level and the human level. That's usually where those addictions are, all kinds of imbalances. So if you have such a problem, luckily we live in a time where there are a lot of great solutions, supports and groups and family and all the rest of it. Yeah, and you're right, some people do have to reach a sort of the bottom of the pool before they can push back up. There's a whole sort of a healing path for that. In Kabbalah, I can tell you, Kabbalah is not the place for that. It's a place where if you have some imbalances, usually a lot of those get straightened out on their own. But if something is really chronic and debilitating, you want to take care of it before you engage in the spiritual search. or this might become part of your search, but it's a slightly different path. We're not going to address it today. Maybe we'll do a Kabbalah Explained Simply on that. People who are not able to be inside of a regular sort of group setting and study. That's an interesting idea. I'm writing this down. And from Nika, every person is a unique individual. How come the successful life seems to be defined in the same way by the Kabbalists? Good question. I mean, I think I understand your question. The answer is that how that successful life will feel is unique to you. But a truly successful life for someone who has a point in the heart has to be a life where one is moving toward their spiritual goal. It's something I didn't qualify at the very beginning because of time, but if you live a life and all you are interested in is food, sex, family, money, honor, power, some knowledge, fine, Kabbalah is not for you. Not yet. But if you have this question, like a lot of people are having now, then these principles for a successful life, will always fall short. I mean, that successful life that these principles define, and not only these ones, but there are others. I know a lot of actually well-respected psychologists and social experts, and they all, like I said, people share their experience, and a lot of it is good. But if it's not eventually helping a person reach a spiritual goal, I don't care about it, and it's not the life that I will define as successful. Having made it in my career, having made it in a job or with a certain amount of money in my bank is not the criteria with which I measure the successful life. That's why I said at the very beginning, you have to define what is a successful life for you. Some of those habits are not bad, but they will eventually fall short. You will wake up one day, not now, maybe in 10 years, maybe 20, maybe on your deathbed. And that's okay, because there's another life and another life and another life. But if you're woke up now and you're asking the question, these are the principles for you. So let's go to principle number 4 without further ado, just so we can finish those principles. We have 20 minutes. I'm going to do it. So principle number 4 says, take 100% responsibility for your life. That's, that's assuming, this is based on the idea that you are in control of your thoughts, your actions, and your responses to everything. And the principle states, and the people behind the principle state, stop complaining, take proactive steps to achieve your desired outcomes. Again, this is a paraphrase of a lot of things that affirmations and advice and coaches and life coaches and gurus and all of that, all the rest of it. The truth is, this is the truth. The true truth is that you only really control your attitude, the way you relate to what is happening to you. This is really what sort of sums up your control. There is an extended version to that, which is to understand that everything comes from what Kabbalists call there's none else besides him. Okay, there's a whole article about it. There is none else besides him. There's one force, as I said, the one that initiated this whole process, it put it into motion. The thought of creation was to reveal the Creator to the created beings. For a variety of reasons, he cannot reveal that quality of love and bestowal, which is the Creator, to the created being in the current state, because we are opposite. So we're unable to connect with that quality, to see it, to perceive it. So there's a whole process that followed whereby we end up in the world that we see around us, sort of a shattered world with people running around pursuing egoistic desires. But what they're really missing is to feel the connection with the Creator, the source of everything. Now, we are fragments of this whole, and the trick, in order to advance in this chaotic mess, is to surround yourself with the right environment, and then take responsibility for building the environment that you want to influence you. In other words, you can't really change yourself to say, take responsibility and do the right thing. Again, if the right thing is more pleasure somehow, then you'll do it. Take an obese person, for example. As long as they are enjoying eating and not moving much and all the rest of it, they will not change their lives. Once they stop deriving pleasure and they begin to contemplate the idea of more pleasure coming from actually overcoming and losing weight and living a healthy lifestyle and meeting, healthier people and all the other things that come with it, they will be able to work in that direction. Why? Because it's good for the will to receive. The ego likes it. I used to like this, to derive pleasure from this. Now I derive it from that. But in spirituality, remember, we were working against the ego. It sounds like we're working with the ego in the beginning, but it's only to get it, on board. At the end of the day, you are working against your will to receive. We're overcoming those egoistic desires. We're acquiring what is called in Kabbalah a screen, a new intention over our egoistic desires. So what I would really say is there was the correct principle, the revised principle, the new principle is take 100% responsibility for the environment you're in, okay, for shaping it the way it, the best way possible to influence you, right, toward attaining the spiritual goal that you're after, and all the different types of spiritual work you need to do in that environment. Again, separate topic, but you can only do it in that environment, and you have that much control in how you plant yourself in that environment and how you shape it. That environment will then act on you like an amplifier. And even as you're doing that, remember that there is none else besides him. So anything that happened already had to happen. You have to look forward and see how it pushed you, where it needed to push you, and what are you doing from this moment on. It will take us to the next principle, but the idea is that it's kind of like I saw a principle somewhere that says surround yourself with successful people. Obviously, this was an egoistic recommendation because, again, an environment will shape you. This is true in our world as well, right? If I'm obese, again, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm not going to surround myself with other obese people who are sitting there and eating and doing nothing. I'm going to try to surround myself with people who are going to the gym, who've added healthy alternatives to their diet, right? Who are moving more, who are talking about a certain lifestyle that I'm after, right? If I want to become a violinist, I'm not going to surround myself with football players. I'm going to surround myself with violinists, right? And listen to classical music and all the, or whatever, wherever there's violin playing. So, in parentheses, again, if you have egoistic goals, material goals of this world, then definitely surround yourself with people that and spend time with those people who will be positive, supported, and inspirational toward that goal. So if your goal is to travel the world and eat the best food, fine. Find a group that does that, and you'll get to your goal. But if you have a spiritual goal, you need spiritually inclined people, and it becomes very, very clear with a spiritual goal. So again, take 100% responsibility for the environment you're in. I'm feeding it. The way I want to see it inspiring. Then I want to be inspirational. I want to see it uplifting. I want to be uplifting. I want to see it positive. I want to bring positivity. It's like an amplifier, as I said. Whatever you bring into it, that's what you'll get out of it. If you see everyone around you tired, it's because you're tired. Okay, so you do have this 100% responsibility built in because of a different Kabbalistic principle, which is you're judged according to your own flaws, or man is a small world. Everything is in you. But you are given the ability to work within that small environment and influence it, because every influence, every impulse you put in will come back to you tenfold. But remember, there's no one else besides him. So there's a bigger plan in place. You have to work with it. Again, there's a whole other topic. We're not going to get into it. Number 5, only 5. Wow. Okay, 15 minutes to go. We can do it. No questions in the chat. I'm plowing ahead. Number 5 says, believe in yourself and maintain a positive mindset. I'm sure you all heard it before. Again, this is not a principle that's applied to someone who's suffering from clinical depression. Speaking of addictions or things that are, acute imbalances, you have to take care of it. But for the most part, a lot of times, if you have that confidence in yourself and that positive mindset, and you cultivate the self-belief in yourself, and you trust your abilities, and you don't let others' opinions derail your goals, and where your thoughts are is where you are. That is generally a correct assessment. However, there is a however. Kabbalists say, don't believe yourself until the day you die. Now, what does that mean? It sounds like, what? What they mean is your will to receive, the ego that drives every decision that you make, that is ready to exploit everyone and everything and achieve, to achieve your goals. Even if in the end it's going to hurt itself, meaning you, doesn't matter. That is the driving force inside of you. That is the algorithm that runs your system, your intelligence, your actions, right? So we have to look truth in the eyes, and our ego is what drove us to where we are. So this whole believe in yourself, this whole movement toward extreme individualization, narcissism, some would say, and me, and all. No, it's been going on since the 60s. It's taken a very distorted approach to life. Life lived at the expense of others, just to obtain my sense of comfort. So there is an issue here, and so a Kabbalist, or someone on a spiritual path, on a true spiritual path, is someone who is trying to move away from that trapping mechanism, away from the influences of the ego. So someone like that understands or finds out very quickly that you can't escape yourself by yourself. You just can't. There's a saying in Kabbalah, a person does not break himself out of prison. Maybe that should have been the principle, but I didn't want to give people like these that they need help to break out of prison. So I wrote it a little differently. I wrote, believe that the power of connection in the right group or the right environment can lift you above everything. So what do I need help with? I need help with rising above myself, above my desires that are constantly making me think about myself and my own self-fulfillment. And if I don't get it, I feel depressed and underappreciated, and I deserve more, and why this doesn't go my way, and that inner dialogue, right? So nature actually made it so that we have to rely on each other to succeed. If you really look at the world, we actually, nature forced us to work together. We don't like it, but it's actually the world we live in. The world we live in absolutely relies 100%. The exception simply is proof of the rule, not vice versa. Those who try to become hermits, usually they don't last. There's an exception, and it's there just to prove the rule. Like, look how exceptional that is. It's not the rule. Man goes to live on an island with his dog, whatever. Yeah, like how many people do it? One. So it's actually hinting at the final correction toward which we're moving, which is to reassemble these pieces. We're all like cells in one body. Again, if you're new to Kabbalah, it's another concept that you work with. You're like cells in a body, but each cell is working for itself. In biology, we call it cancer, but in Kabbalah, if you begin to work toward the other cells and what they need and how you can connect to them, and you form tissues and organs, and you start to create a a network that is much greater than the individual cell. It can actually provide so much more to the cell, just like your body as a whole provides so much more to the individual pieces in the body. And so, while it's important to maintain a positive mindset, we should reject, forget reject, we should put more stock in the feeling of the group that I'm in. And in a way, in good, healthy families, that's the case. You do consider the family. You don't just go off and do your thing. You do it in movies. In Hollywood for many years, that was the stereotype, right? Oh, he's a rebel. He did his thing, right? That doesn't usually end well. Again, the exception proves the rule, not the other way around. So if you agree with a group of people on the spiritual goal, then there's actually a relief, because you don't need to struggle on your own. There's just no need to. There's so much power in the group. It can lift you, it can transform you, it can help you go through things that would take years in normal egoistic life. In Kabbalah, within hours, days, weeks, it's gone. So, and you move to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So there's a power there, and I recommend you consider it. The power of connection. It's very real. It can do a lot for you. And principle number 6. We have 7 minutes. We're going to do it. The principle says, take action and live in the present. They say, right, stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start now. Take risks. Be willing to make mistakes. Focus on the present while maintaining a vision for the future. Those are some of the things that people say. So, of course, 100%. But the weakness that we sometimes ascribe to this idea is not simply about procrastination. It's not just about not moving. It's also about refusing to connect with others right now. So it's not simply take action and live in the present, but what kind of action? Towards whom? To what end? So we're saying toward connecting with others. That's the thing I'm willing to put off, to delay, to avoid. If I have a bad relationship, I'll break it. I'll get a divorce. I'll move to another city or another state or another country. I can't deal with it, so I'm moving away. Well, guess what? There's nowhere to go to anymore. The world is big, but it's not that big, and this breakage is reaching everywhere. And so the problem is that we have to realize that all of our problems stem from the way we interact with one another. And so if you're in the right environment, then you will feel that there's no need to postpone anything. You don't want to postpone it. You want to do it now. There's a saying in Kabbalah, the salvation of the Lord is the blink of an eye. I mean, it's a famous saying. Nobody knows what it means, but what it means is that you can actually make these corrections very quickly. You can find a point of breakage and get help, and it can be fixed right there and then. It doesn't need to take years. You don't need to be estranged from your wife or from your friend or from your family for decades and then meet them in some cousin's funeral and then cry. No. Connection now. Okay, the environment will compel you to move, to take action. So I will say that take action, live in the present, and work on the connection with others. That will be my take on this principle. And the last principle, well, I can't believe it. We're making it. The last principle is the principle is practice persistence and embrace failure. Which again, it sounds good. Maybe it could work in spirituality, right? They say success requires resilience. Don't give up when challenges arise. View failures as learning experiences and opportunities for growth, right? Keep moving forward even when things get difficult, right? We have entire what's the word I'm looking for? Video libraries filled with epic sagas just in this, right? But I will say that sometimes it's better to sit and do nothing. We have the this inner drive to keep pushing at whatever it is, the goal we set for ourselves. And if you fall, you get up again and you try again. And in some cases, it's true. Like if you're learning to ride a horse and you keep falling, or if you're training for the Olympics and you're a ice skater and you keep falling, you get up and you try again. And if you're doing kung fu and you break a bone, then you go back at it and you hit it, and then you develop these bumps on your bones. It makes it stronger. Yes, on some level, that's exactly what nature is about. That's actually how nature grows you, right? Nature doesn't take a duckling on the back of his mom and they fly into the sunset, and then the little duckling spreads its wings and it gradually sort of flutters off the back of his mom and they float there. And if he dips, he lands on her back. No, mom takes off and the little guy has to jump from a nest, usually 30 feet above the ground, right? That's how and if he crashes, he's got to try again, unless he dies, right? So nature is ruthless in this way. But when you work towards spirituality, you do need resilience, but I would argue that the principle needs to sound a little different, and that is that the right action should bring you to the right request. What does that mean? This is important. This is kind of the last thing. We'll end on that note. There's a question. Hold on. Are more simple people more prone to connection versus more civilized than the educated? Sort of this is a side question. I will just say they're not prone to it, but when you take the layers that we sometimes add on to ourselves, especially in Western society, then it is a little easier to connect. Or if you want to say, using Kabbalistic terms, the smaller the ego, the easier it is to connect. But the trick is to connect with the biggest ego, because the Creator wants to give you infinite pleasure. He needs an infinite vessel, and your ego, your will to receive, that's the vessel where you receive everything. So just one word on this. So rather than thinking, I'm hitting a wall, I should just get up and hit the wall again, hit the wall again, hit the wall again. Like I said, while it might be true for some instances in life, it's not always the case. And what you want to get to eventually is an internal change. In other words, you come to a group of like-minded people. They all want to reach this quality of love and bestowal called the Creator, this source of knowledge and pleasure, this out of this world, and you want to reach it. And how do you reach it? You have to connect with others. You don't want to do it, you do it anyways. You compel yourself. You work against the resistance. You bring yourself into the environment. You're ready to endure the ups and downs and everything that comes with it. And you're taking responsibility for the environment. You develop everything. But in the end, at the very, very end, this whole game was not designed for you to solve it all the way through. Let's face it, it's massive. You can barely control few small things. Even the big guys who think, or big girls, doesn't matter, who think they control a lot of things, it's an apparition. They're in a position where the strings are tied in such a way that they make a movement and a big swoosh happens. But are they in control, or are they even in even less control compared to a simpler person, as someone asked, right? Someone who's just like, I could just go and I could just change. I can change my environment and go somewhere else. Who's more in control, right? This person at the top, or one who's less tied to these material environments, right? And the one who has not 3 mortgages, but 1 or maybe none. The one who lives a more simple life, a normal life, average, rather than the one who spends so much time and energy on obtaining other pleasures, right? And is tied up with debt and weird connections and obligations and right? A whole lifestyle that prevents them from pursuing what they really want. Maybe they don't even know it, but this connection with the Creator. So those who are already in that environment and are working in this direction, they know that in the end, it's about the thing that changes inside of you. There's a moment where something just wants to ask for help. It feels natural. It feels good. It feels right. It comes from a true place. It's not artificial. It's not made up. It rests exactly on that point where you've done everything right, and now you need that, that force that created all of this to intervene again and here at this point, and solder, right, put together these two pieces that are broken off, and you ask for that, and it happens. So the right action should eventually bring you to the right request, not necessarily to try it over and over and over and over, because in the end it's not up to you to really finish that job. Well, there's a saying in Kabbalah, the Creator will finish the job for me. So that was it. Those are 7 principles. I had a few bonus principles. I took a few things from a few other interesting thinkers. Some interesting principles, but we don't have time for it now. We're going to turn this live broadcast off, and we're going to move to our Zoom. So if you have time, stick around, join us there. You get to ask more questions, more follow-up questions. It always ends up being super interesting, I promise, because all kinds of stuff opens up. So that was it. That was Kabbalah Explained Simply. I had a great time. This is going to be my last KS for a while, because I'm going to start to teach a young group in the grad environment of KabU, which is where all this great study is coming from. So if you join KabU, if you start a self-study, and then you join the grad environment, and you come to the young group, we might meet. If not, I'm going to be back here in this chair, maybe around April. It was a pleasure, and I see you all next time, or on the Zoom in 2 minutes. That was all.